Welcome back to the Pro Series Podcast. This is episode 162, and today's guest is Chris Howell. Chris is the owner and CEO of SPX Gym Design. It's an interior design firm that specializes in gyms and wellness spaces. So that's for commercial use, residential use. We talk all about it. It's such a cool episode. It's really cool to dive into a different sector of interior design that I haven't touched yet. So it's really cool to hear his background story, all these details that I didn't know about for gyms. But before we get into this episode, please like, subscribe, and review this podcast on wherever you listen to podcasts. Now I hope you enjoy episode 162 with Chris Howell. Chris, thank you so much for hopping on the Pro Series podcast today. Excited to talk to you about your company and your background.
Of course, Eric. Thanks for having me, man. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, I always kind of like to start off on like how we kind of got introduced. And as soon as Mary sent over your bio, I'm like, I have to interview him because I've never had anybody that specialized in just gym design. And I mean, there's a lot of money to be made there. And I just want to pick your brain about like how it started out and just in general gym design because I know nothing about it.
Yeah, yeah. I'll tell you what. 8 years ago, I knew nothing about it either. So,
Really?
um, yeah, I went to Hofstra University out on Long Island,
Okay.
and I studied philosophy and economics. So nothing to do with design,
Yeah.
nothing. So uh, I matriculated from there. I worked on Wall Street for a few years. Wasn't for me. And then I ended up doing some cold calling, sales stuff, some personal training, and I knew I liked fitness. I just
Hmm.
wanted to maybe do something a little bit more than just personally train, more like on the business side, or I wasn't sure exactly yet. And then I fell into this like hospitality group doing personal training and like building a group fitness concept for a lot of their hotels.
Okay.
And an architect from that group reached out to me and was like, "Hey, you're the fitness guy. What are the best treadmills out there?" And I went home and I just Googled everything about treadmills, found like I created this little deck for him and I sent it back. He goes, "This is great. Now, can you do dumbbells?" And I went home that night and then did this. And me and this architect like became pretty good friends. And I just really loved the product. That was like what I was resonating. I was like really loved fitness equipment, like the development portion of it. And this hospitality group, sure like they don't want to just have a steel or piece of like just black just sitting in this really nice well designed space, so they would come back and be like, "Hey, there's something nicer." So then I'd go
Hmm.
back down the rabbit hole. And so I did that with that hospitality group. I stopped kind of doing the fitness portion. I just worked with this guy, this architect, who was responsible for the gyms and wellness portions for a lot of their expanding hotels, their membership clubs.
Okay.
So yeah, that's how I got into it, and I got to work with plenty of architects and interior designers and lighting, everybody from building. There was about 30 hotels that I was involved in, so that was amazing to like get a start there.
Yeah.
And so then I had an agency, and then I kind of kept working a lot more within hospitality, a lot of other hotels and membership clubs, then multifamily amenities like apartment gyms and things like that.
Hmm.
And then finally during COVID, homes.
Yeah.
Started doing a lot more homes during COVID. Yeah.
I bet that's the perfect
So
time to do it.
exactly. People were like, "Can't go to the gym. I'm bring the gym to me."
Yeah.
So that was challenging because then that kind of I had to put on my logistics hat. I had to figure out how to get things from overseas and through the ports, and because it was a mess.
And
So
you're not doing just local stuff too, right? You're doing all over the country?
yeah, yeah. The furthest job I've ever done was in Mumbai in India, and that was with
Wow.
that yeah, a hospitality group. So they opened up a membership club there, and I spent about 40 days there doing that final push for getting the gym completed, and then some pre-opening operation stuff. Yeah.
So when it comes to like
So
the actual designing of the gym, are you just doing the equipment or are you doing literally everything from the materials, everything?
um, yeah, so we'll come usually get like referred out and we'll come in and there might be an interior design person or interior design team or an architect designer. And I'm always like, I don't want to step on your toes. Like if you have this space designed, awesome. How can I help support? Usually that's like, sure, Chris, like, do you have any recs on gym flooring? Right. Cause they know maybe they don't
Yeah.
have like great contacts on flooring. Fine. Or we'll look at like the elevations of lighting and where they're placing it. I'm like, we don't have like a ton of ceiling height. So maybe if we can move this light over here and we'll put the cardio and then, so there's like, that's how we'll like really integrate really well with like the architects, designers, and GC. So while they're building it, they'll be like, hey guys, we can't put this here. There's, and so I'll be helping that construction administration to kind of like fix some of those things. And then I work with two interior folks on my team that help. Basically, if you're like, hey, I'm opening a gym and I want everything done, and we'll kind of do everything from A to Z there. Yeah.
That's pretty smart.
So
Yeah.
yeah, so I guess we're definitely like gym design. That's like where we're pushing it. So it's like, if you want unique equipment, you want your name on it, Dillman dumbbells, like everything, like we'll make that happen. And if you want it in gold, you want it in stainless steel, whatever. And then there's a whole nother thing where we could go the interior component. We could do that as well. And so like we did a job in Austin where we had this like collective artist group come in and do all these installs around the gym, and that was pretty special too. That was for like a C4 Energies headquarters. It was pretty awesome.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
When it comes to gym and designing, I mean, I think there's a lot of people that have their own home gyms, but they don't take into account like what you just said, the logistics side of it, like the cardio, like in the treadmill, you're off the ground,
yeah.
a foot and a half or whatever the treadmill is height
Yes.
wise. And if the person's like 6'4" and they're hitting their head off the ceiling, they don't take that into account. So, I mean, that's
No.
smart that you're able to do all that stuff and kind of tag team with that.
Yeah, the stair climber happens all the time. People want stair climbers in their
Oh,
home,
yeah.
and the person says like 6'1". It's like usually it's going to be tough unless you got this like something ceiling height like this. But ceiling height is always the first thing we ask about, and then like what floor the gym is on,
Dang.
because acoustics. Like if you have the room adjacent rooms or you have a bar up above or below, it's like cause all these issues. So
Absolutely.
yeah.
Looking
hmm
back in, going to college and everything, did you ever, like, when you were going to the gym, ever think, "Wow, this would be cool to actually do this one day and actually make this a career?"
It's such a good question because so at Hofstra University, I played lacrosse there, so that was like my first exposure to like a proper like strength conditioning program and like a facility, like all this stuff. So it was really interesting to see how they put us 20, like say like I played defense, so like there was the defense were in there, so it was like 20 guys,
Mhm.
and just thinking back, how they cycled all 20 of us through the space was basically a group fitness workout. So you had people on a half rack, off a half rack. You had someone doing that, and so thinking about that, it was like, oh wow, that's so interesting how they did that. And then also understanding like when we do discovery with a prospective a client, understanding like what their goals are. So like a lot of our goals, some of our goals were to get stronger, some of ours to get faster, some were just need to get in shape or lose weight. So hearing a client and then trying to understand like I've seen like a staff apply these like programming to student athletes, and I've seen
Mhm.
it firsthand translate onto the field, or I've seen someone lose weight to hit their goal there. So I was definitely grateful for that experience because it helped me like translate a little bit like what your goals are
Yeah.
and how we're going to do your home gym, or how we're going to do the membership club, like where your theme is. If you just want it to be like more hardcore like strength, or you want it to be open and airy and have like these natural woods and tones. So it is good. So we're able to like apply some like science that's like usually the core of like our decision making. It's like
Oh,
we're
yeah.
not really going to stand in the fringe and be like, oh, this is in right now. It's like, that's cool, but there's nothing saying that it really works.
Yeah. Yeah, that's one thing. I specialized in kitchen and bath design and residential design, and I always said, like, would you take expert advice who's designing your kitchen for someone that doesn't cook? Because, like, they don't know
Mm,
how the kitchen works, and being able to
yes,
actually know the profession behind the design is the most beneficial for the customer itself, because it's gonna be actually functional for them in their life.
absolutely. And it's funny, Eric. I always say like on phone calls with like when I'm interfacing with like an interior designer and architect, I'm like, well, you're the interior designer, you lead the way, but like, do you have a kitchen designer? Like, why wouldn't you have a gym designer?
Yeah.
So it's like I've always said that, and you guys focus on the main points, the highlights of the house. Just let me
Yeah.
do the gym, like knock it out of the park, and I'm not going to try to change what you're trying to do. I'll just fit it into what your mood board or what you've already kind of like told the client or discussed with the client. So that's always and typically, I'm sure like you, it's like, well, we want to do this, but and you're like, I know that group. They sell that in Poland. I have a great relationship with them, and I can get it over here and put it like, oh, they're like, oh wow, didn't know that.
Yeah.
So there's all these like wins like when you collaborate. So I'm always like first one to say, hey, I'm not looking to steal a design or you're the design. I'm just
Yeah.
trying to make this thing happen, just like as you sold it. So
Well, a good designer would listen to you. It's kind of like my professor in design school always said, when you go to a doctor, you go to a PCP, and then if you have an issue, say with like a GI issue, you go to a GI specialist. You're not that
yeah,
PCP is not taking care of your stomach because it might be just completely out of their realm because they're kind of learning on a whole body perspective and don't know all the details of, the GI tract or whatever.
100%, 100%, exactly.
So you doing jobs all around the country, who is your coolest client? And are you allowed to answer that question?
Um, Oh man, I'll tell you what. If any of the clients I didn't mention them, then and they wanted to be,
Oh,
they'd find out that they weren't the coolest. No, I think we have such a awesome opportunity that the people we usually get referred.
okay.
So the people we work with, like if we have a great experience, they're usually people that we like and would love to work with them again. But typically, most people are either building, one dream home, or they're opening one boutique gym, or one hotel, amenity. So we'll get referred out, and usually, they're friends with them, so they usually have like a similar cadence and whatnot. But we did a gym for if like a Peloton fans or whatever. We did a gym for one of their Peloton instructors named Alex Toussaint, and he was awesome because he has basically this persona that was on the Peloton bike, and
Okay.
that's exactly what he's like in real life. Like it's pretty
Oh.
amazing. It's remarkable. Guy was so stoked to see me every day. I was like, man, this guy's more excited to see me than my wife. you know, uh, but he was great, and like he had a vision for like what he wanted. Um, and that's always super helpful. So like we're not like trying to introduce things. He's like, hey, I wanted to do this. And then all we're doing is basically like, hey, have you ever seen something like this dumbbell or this half rack or this barbell? And he's like, you could do that? Like, yeah, definitely. So we're just making his vision a little bit better. So he's like so connected to it because he had it. This is what he wanted, but we just brought in all these like unknowns that he didn't know about. And it just kind of, he was so excited about his home gym. It was really, really special to work on for him for sure.
That's the best part of the job, seeing the outcome of the person's face when they first see it and like afterwards if they text you or email you like, "Oh, this is the best space ever. I love this." Refer you to
Yeah,
anyone.
just me. I say all the time. I think that's like such a reward. Like if you get that, you're just like they're in there to take a picture. Like this, I'm so grateful for the gym. I'm like, yeah, that's it. That's cool. So
Yeah. Well, I'm not gonna have you say the average price because I hate when people ask you what's the average price of a kitchen because there's no such thing. But what's the most expensive gym that you've ever worked on?
oh, probably most recently was around. It was a commercial space, and it was
Okay.
around just the equipment alone was around $600,000. Just
Dang.
the equipment. So before any finishes, anything else, construction, lighting, anything, it was an equipment. And um, yeah, that had everything. That
Yeah.
has it's really popular with like saunas and cold plunges now. So like those are like those are heavy price drivers.
Okay.
But this group had a basketball court. They had an outdoor football field. They had um, yeah, they had a custom boxing ring. Everything was just bespoke to them. It was pretty neat.
So you do not just workout equipment, but you do saunas and all this stuff that kind of goes with the wellness space?
Yeah, as more recently, the past, I'd say like 2, 3 years, we kind of saw, well, not we, but uh, I hated infrared saunas, and I just didn't understand like why people were doing it or like loved it, and so I kind of went down the traditional dry sauna route. And there's guys on our team that are like, they like both and they know both. It's just funny because when it gets brought up, like I just don't even have space for an infrared sauna in my head. Uh, so we started doing that, and I was just like, someone, I went to a concept in Manhattan, and it was like going to the sauna and going to the cold plunge, and I did that a couple times, and I was like, this is amazing. You get like a runner's high out.
Yeah.
And I was like, I think this, I want to know more about this. So yeah, so we started doing custom saunas for commercials, and then we've been doing like prefabricated saunas for homes as well, mainly outdoor.
Okay.
And then we'll work with like if it's like a little bit out of our scope, just like other people, we'll bring in partners that we have good relationships with, to like if someone's like, I want an out of this world sauna in my house in this closet, I'd be like, I don't know if I can give you some general specs, but we're gonna need to get some pro in here to like make this happen. So yeah, but we'll do the cold plunges and the saunas and the steam as well. And there's a guy on our team named Frank, and he looks after all the wellness stuff for groups.
Okay.
So we do a couple like higher touch like projects that involve more like taking your concept A to Z, like setting up IVs and that whole practice
Oh,
as
wow.
well. Yeah, so that's like a more little like aside from our business. It's like more higher ticket. We only take really like 3 clients a year, and it's because it's super high. It's high, it's really intense. Like
Yeah.
we're
I
on
bet.
them for the next year and a half. So yeah, we'll do all that longevity and wellness components too. And so he'll chime in. So if we're doing a gym design, I'll have my business partner Frank jump in, and he'll be like, "Hey, what are you thinking for your recovery area or whatnot, and plunge and steam and saunas and pools?" We'll tackle that too.
Dang. So
Yeah,
what in the next, 5 years, what do you see your company getting into or growing, or where do you see it?
yeah. So right now I have five people on our team. I think hopefully I get apply more pressure to those uh, guys and gals, and get them to tell me, hey, we need more people. So that would be one that would be
Okay.
one thing, to get just higher capacity, being able to put more output per year on gyms. And then I would say like in the short run, I'd say the next 3 years, it was really to like grow the gym design. So right
Yeah.
now, like I would say we're like in this growth phase, and then the next year would be around like processing, like what we're doing this for 2025. So like
Okay.
really tightening it up, and then the third year of that would be around scaling. And so we'd scale this, and if I sold it to like a bigger group, or if I just kept it, and we just kept growing it that way around the scaling process, that could be the 5-year plan.
Yeah.
But eventually, I think what we would do is we would take those processes that we did within gym, and we would
Okay.
just backtrack wellness and just do the same thing within wellness. Is that what we've done for the past couple 7-8 years now? So
Mm.
yeah,
Would you
so
get into
kind of
anything other than gyms?
Probably not. I mean, the only thing I've ever thought about would be just doing kind of what we're doing, but for like the wellness component, like at a
Gotcha.
higher touch scale. So like instead of it being like a high ticket, we're doing a 3 or 4. It's actually like we're doing, instead of 4, we're doing 50 of them a year, 60 of them a year, but we're just doing the same process that we've kind of carved out for the gym design component. Um, Maybe, I mean, we've been making some equipment. That's been kind of exciting, like here in
Oh,
the
that's
US.
cool.
So yeah, so that maybe that's something that we explore, but it's tough. And there's a lot of equipment manufacturers out there.
Yeah,
So
there is.
I'm used to kind of being like, oh, the gym guy, and that's been great for a referral
Yeah.
source. So there's not many people doing what I'm doing. So, but yeah,
Yeah,
but
I
yeah. What did you mean though? What did you mean if I thought was going to do anything besides gym design?
see, like, going into, like, field houses and, like, locker rooms for, like,
Oh,
colleges and stuff because
that's interesting.
I've been in many, and they're not suited for equipment and everything for they're just, like, pretty, like, they're
Mm,
not actually functional,
yeah,
and then as you
yeah,
see, like, these new colleges, like, they update their room, it goes all over the media. I mean, like,
yeah.
people are, like, looking at, like, West Virginia's new locker room and all that stuff. I don't know,
Mm.
I just think it's kinda still in the same world as you.
It is, yeah. I mean, now that you mention this, there's a couple like key stakeholder like locker room companies. Like there's
Oh,
companies
okay.
that only that do locker rooms, but they're probably few and far between like me. They'll do the ones that so typically when you see like the really out of this world University of Texas or whatnot,
Yeah.
they're like fall into the hands of like three groups.
Gotcha.
Is not yeah. So and they specialize in like lockers and like at Equinox and Lifetime. There's the same three groups.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, but
Interesting.
hey,
Never know.
yeah, I loved
Are
it. I love where your head's at.
are you someone that will never say no when it comes to a client that wants to kind of think outside the box?
Hmm. I would say a few years ago, I'd say I would never say no to a client, but I'm trying to say no to clients more
Yeah.
often
Okay.
now. Yeah, especially when it comes to the fit. Like if I feel like it's like um usually if it the budget starts coming up, like I always preface, I'm like, we're not a budget group to work with. Like we'll give you a couple tips and pointers to look if you're really concerned about budget, but we don't exist to save you money.
Mm.
that's that's what so we're
Okay.
looking to create like tip of the spear experiences, so people will come to us to they're like, we're looking to like change the hotel gym. Perfect. That's our ideal
Yeah.
client. Or we're looking to change the way people go into gyms, or we're looking to change like the home gym. Like I want this to be my dream home gym, like well thought out, blah blah. That's our ideal. That's how our clients talk.
Okay.
So when it comes around like budget, or if someone just like uh, they're having a hard time with like too early. Usually that's like sometimes they'll be like, oh, we're going to do this amazing thing and we're going to go out and get funding. It's like, all right, well, just call. What do you need from me on this call that we can help get you across the line? But maybe when you get money, we can talk about like what the next steps are and look like. But yeah, I try to really look for the fit. Like if we're a good fit for them, and if not, I'll come out and say it. Like I just don't feel like we're the right group to solve your main problems.
Yeah.
Um,
Absolutely. Because
is
sometimes I've said no to some people because down the line they're going to be an issue. Like there's something there. Like maybe they're not settling on or taking your advice, and you absolutely know it's not going to work. And
yes,
you have to say
yeah.
no. It's going to ruin
You
your
have to say
reputation.
no. Exactly, and then I had I had a colleague in a different segment. And we were talking about like a client. I'm like, oh my gosh, this client's killing me. I don't know. And he goes, what are your top 10 clients? Are they on there? I said, yeah. And they go, what rank are they out of that? Number one? I said, no. He goes, two? No. I go, they're the 10th. He goes, that's a problem. Does your number one client bother you this much? I go, no, my number one client's the best. You need more number one clients. And I was like, man, once he said that, and I was like, my biggest headache every in the morning was my 10th highest paying client. It wasn't even anyone in the top like nine. So
Yeah.
once he said that, I was like, man, you're right. I need to consider this. I don't need top 10 clients. I need those number one clients. So that's what yeah, you're right. Cause they spend more time.
Hmm.
It just kind of, and if you make the sale, it feels good in the beginning, but then you're like, "Man, I should have never accepted this. I never
Yeah.
should have engaged." Yeah.
Yeah. Or they suck up your
So,
time and you can't take that really number one client that comes along the road.
yeah, exactly, exactly. So, I like to think I've gotten better, but it's inevitable. You take jobs sometimes you're like, "Ah, shoot, I wish I could have seen around the corner on this one." But we'll get through it. We'll do a good job, move on to the next, and try to be a little bit more keener next time.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Chris, I want to end
Yeah.
with where people could follow you on social media, your company, yourself, and your website, or anything else you want to promote.
Yeah, sure. So my Instagram is Chris Howell 16. That's HOWELL. Or you can find us at SPX Gym Design. Just type that in and you're there. And our website is spxfit.com. So yeah,
Perfect.
anything
Perfect.
you
Well,
need, gym, wellness, we got it.
yeah, awesome. So they could DM you. How do they inquire if they want you for their gym design?
Yeah, you can message us on at spxfit.com. That's like
Cool.
the easiest, but people take all different routes, which I don't mind.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you, Chris, so much for hopping on the Pro Series podcast today.
You got it. Thank you so much. Really enjoyed it.